What up,
Nice.
Billy?
Oh man.
How we doing today, man?
Hello guys. How are you? Doing well. How you guys doing?
We're good. We're excited to have you on. I think you've been a mainstay in the theory of ecosystem for a long time. Have been building something that we're intrigued by and also confused by. So excited to to dig into that here today. So you're co-founder or founder and CEO of Intuition, which is the world's first open and semantic token curated knowledge graph, which is decoupling identities, data, and algorithms from the application layer. So can you just give us an overview of what Intuition is and I guess what problems it exists to solve?
Yeah, absolutely. So we got to we're gonna revamp that verbiage because
Dude,
I
it's a
think it
very
confuses
common,
everyone.
it's a very common experience on this show. Is I pull stuff off the website and they're like, oh shit, we gotta rework that.
Yeah, no, we're working on it. We're aware. We've gotten that feedback before, but it is literally accurate. So that's kind of why it's on there. And I have trouble not being accurate. So that's kind of one of my downfalls. But yeah, really, what intuition is, it's kind of next generation attestation infrastructure to try to make verifiable data actually usable for more complex use cases than what we're using them for right now. So like right now, it's like, I get the WorldCoin eyeball scan. And then if I want to authenticate into something or prove my humanity, I just pass them the WorldCoin eyeball scan credential. But the model kind of falls short the way that everyone's doing it for more complex use cases where it's like, I want all the data from all the people to make a decision or arrive at a conclusion, not just like requesting and then selectively disclosing one attestation or like a couple attestations. And so the goal here is really to give things better intuition in all their interactions. That's why it's called intuition. And the way that you get good intuition about stuff is you get good data about stuff. So if I spend every day with you and I collect a bunch of data through personal experience, I start having good intuition about how you're going to react when I talk to you. Or if I ride a surfboard every day, I collect data through personal experience, and then I have good intuition about how to ride the surfboard. So it's like, how do we scale that? Like, how do we get the people and machines the data they need when they need it from the sources they trust? And the way you do that is like, signed data is a good primitive because now we have verifiable attribution. Knowledge graphs are a good primitive because now we can kind of traverse the data set. And there's like a couple more things that we do to try to just like get the information that they need from the people that they trust. So I think a super simple example is, reviews on something like Amazon. Like I don't have an Amazon friends list. And, I've never written an Amazon review. And if you look at the data, over 97% of people are not actively writing reviews. And then all of us are, using this data to make decisions every day. So what I want is first we got to get people's information out there. So how do we get people doing things like leaving reviews or comments or whatever, like participating more actively on the internet? So kind of layer in incentives to get people to do that. And then once it's out there, kind of allow people to see the commentary from the people who they trust, regardless of what platform they're on. So if I go to Amazon, instead of seeing 10,000 anonymous reviews from people I don't know, one voice from one person I trust means more to me than 10,000 anonymous. Like even if I don't know you guys well, like if I, know that you are a reputable actor and you're like, hey, this chair is good. It's like, okay, that means more to me than all this other slop. And so in order to get that, you need something like what we're building. And then you also need people expressing themselves. Because if you're not leaving the comment, then I can't find it. So we got to get the people that are reputable to say things about things. And then we need to make those voices kind of available everywhere. Hopefully that makes a little bit of sense. I'll pause there.
Well, yeah, let's dive into maybe a specific example. The Amazon reviews are maybe one, but when you sort of think about the types of things that this tech can enable, what are you really excited about?
Oh man, there's so much. I think one of the I hate to be cliche and say AI, but AI is probably the most relevant one. So we are fulfilling kind of this flow where I think interfaces are going to fade into the background and you're probably just going to be prompting agents more and more to do actions on your behalf. So let's say, I'm like, hey, book me a dinner reservation for tonight. I don't want to write a long prompt. I don't want to have to feed it a bunch of context. The first step of this flow is I just wanted to know about me. I wanted to know my preferences, my attributes, my social graph, their preferences, their attributes. So it's like, okay, I know you like sushi. and here's this guy you trust in the context of food, and he likes this restaurant in your area. So now instead of getting like a generic response, you get, something way more personalized. And then the next step of that flow is what's emerging is this coordinating agentic swarm where each agent is kind of good at a specific thing. So you got your restaurant booking agent for your area or whatever. And so to figure out which agent this request should get routed to, now you need agent reputation and context and metadata. Where does that live? So like first, where does the person's reputation live? In the servers of Google? Like hopefully not. In the servers of ChatGPT? Hopefully not. Where does the agent reputation live? Some centralized actor? Hopefully not. Like that would be wild because then they control like which agents you get to interact with. And then the final step of the flow is the agent needs to do the thing. So if it's booking a restaurant reservation, it needs to find the platform. If it's doing a swap, it needs to choose the platform. Which platform does it use? Is that controlled by the AI companies too? Hopefully not. So now you need platform reputation that lives in kind of a neutral place. So just to fulfill this very simple flow, you need what I consider identity. You need identity and identity related data to understand the actors at each step to be able to fulfill it effectively.
So people have been trying to bootstrap verifiable credential and decentralized identity networks for years now. And I think, there've been a bunch of hype cycles where people get excited by it and then it doesn't work and people kind of forget about it and then get excited about it again. So I'm curious what past attempts have got wrong and why it hasn't worked yet.
Oh man, so much. So half of our team is from like Uport, which was kind of the first self-sound. We've been working on this for like 10 years. So we've made all the mistakes already. I've made all the mistakes too. So one of the issues I think was starting with very highly sensitive use cases that are like really critical. So, back in 2017, we were partnering with the city of Zug in Switzerland and issuing their passports as verifiable credentials on Uport. So we had the tech back then, but then it was like, okay, we approach some other governmental agency and we say, hey, can you accept this Uport credential instead of a passport? And they're like, what is Ethereum? What is Uport? Who are you? Like, absolutely not. We need the physical documents. Like, oh shit, we spent a lot of time on this and then it just didn't go anywhere. So I think you got to start with lower friction, just maybe fun or, subjective stuff where people just kind of want to do it. And then you prove out the use case and then you can get the institutions on board. So that's what we're seeing with all of crypto. It's like, I was a big enterprise guy back in early Ethereum days and I was pitching all the big banks and that was so naive. It was just way too early. We needed 10 years of building and proving this stuff out for them to even take a look. So I think the identity arena just fell into that same trap. And then the other problem is there hasn't been money involved historically. And so people have very limited time and energy and attention. And if they could, like, most of them want to like be financially free. And so what they're going to spend that time and energy and attention on is stuff that can maybe make them generational wealth as opposed to cool tech that, the nerds care about. And so what we're doing is we're kind of marrying the two. WorldCoin did it well because they were like, hey, we'll give you just world tokens if you just scan your eyeball. So that was like the first kind of maybe foray into it. We're doing something similar. We're marrying kind of cool crypto economics with verifiable data about stuff. So like as you claim things about things in intuition, you get ownership of the data you're creating, and it's all on these bonding curves. So like as more people like claim similar things, the share price goes up. And then we can also, now that we know who owns what data, when the data gets read and people pay to query the data, we can flow the revenue back to the people who own the data in the first place. So now you can make money by claiming useful things about things, which I think maybe gets people paying attention a little bit more than just the tech is cool and important. Yeah, shout out to James Young who coined token curated graph. I was calling it. I was like, oh, this is like the meta TCR where you can just build any TCR on top of this one TCR. And he's like, oh, it's actually a token curated graph. So that's kind of what it is. Where it's a knowledge graph that is curated. Like the weights are based on the tokens that people hold of things. So kind of if you think about the on-chain state of intuition, I'll try to not get too technical, but it's like there's like the nodes and the edges and the weights live on-chain, and the weights are like who owns what, and we interpret who owns what as who is saying what. So if I own a token of the statement Billy is trustworthy, I'm currently saying Billy is trustworthy. So then you get like weights based on token holdings of people, which I think is pretty interesting. And then TCRs are just a subset of a TCG, I guess we can call it, where like we built a token curated registry for Ethereum values with consensus. Like they wanted to create a living constitution of values. It's like, oh yeah, like you don't have to build new contracts. You just use this, you just use what we have and you just spin it up in a couple minutes instead of weeks or months.
So it's kind of the speculative game there. Like, am I, by holding the Billy is trustworthy token, am I betting that that's going to be increasingly useful, or people are going to want to access that data increasingly over time? Is that kind of the core bet?
Yeah, and you're betting on like the relevancy of information. And then so let's take maybe a better example than Billy is trustworthy. It's like my preference is surfing. If I'm early to claim that surfing is my preference, and a million people come in after me and claim that they also like surfing, then because I claimed it early, I make a bunch of money. Or, you know, if I like a YouTube video, like if I'm the first person to like the video, you could replace the like function with an attestation on intuition. And so if I like the video first and then a million people like the video after me, then I make money. And then you can all like, that's the right, like the data creation side you can monetize, and you can also monetize the read side. So like as that data gets traversed, as people pay to use this data, we now also know who owns equity and what. So we have kind of programmatic value flows to that can flow the read side, like cost per query model stuff, to the people who contributed. So you have this like very fluid, as opposed to an Ocean or a Vana where it's like packaging data up and then kind of selling it. This is more fluid and programmatic, where the value just kind of goes to the places that kind of contributed the data in the first place.
Magically muted, baby. Only us. It's so great.
We can hear you.
I know, that's the worst part. I don't know how that happened. Yeah, I mean, maybe I'll just ask the question more specifically. Like, how do you determine between valuable data and bets on popularity?
That's the perfect question, because I think the question we always get asked is like, how do you like ensure that things are true or false, or right or wrong, and how do you flag that? And the answer is you don't, because as soon as you start doing that, you fall into this slippery slope of censorship and bias. So it's like the relevancy is, it's just who is saying what. Like the relevancy is the signal that this is important or valuable. It's like you let the market decide what's valuable. And if the market decides that a useless viral TikTok video is valuable, who are we to say that, oh, actually, you don't want to consume that? It's, you kind of just let the market decide.
I'm curious how you're thinking about bringing this to market. So obviously, you know, very inherent, I mean, in blockchains generally, but especially when you're trying to aggregate data, more data you have, the more useful it is. How are you bringing this to market in a way that makes it useful for like application developers on day one?
Yeah, so that's kind of the ultimate goal, and that's our approach to everything, is just make it useful, even if it's not a multiplayer game. Just make it, give people some tangible value, where if they are just playing a single player game of intuition, they're already getting value out of it. So that single player game right now is, we're migrating from base to our own network right now, so it's down right now, but like I use intuition instead of bookmarks. So one of the places this came from was I just didn't have a good place to like keep track of my stuff and organize it. I got a million bookmarks I've literally never gone back to. I take notes in Rome research, but it's not good for organizing like lists of things. So I just use intuition to keep track of stuff. And in keeping track of stuff for me, I'm like, oh, new office chair. I got to remember that, or new book or new podcast. I'm like, okay, save that to my podcast list. And then in doing it for me, it's also doing it for everyone else. So I'm just doing it for me, and then it's valuable to the network. And then also what we built is like this open source MCP server and this personalized AI chat. So as I bookmark things, it's getting saved as like personalizing context for my AI. And so the more I say what I like and the more I save stuff, the more my AI gets personalized. And it's not stuck in the context of OpenAI where I can't take it to Anthropic or anything. I have this portable context I can take with me anywhere. So that's just valuable to me. So I'm just doing it not because anyone else is doing anything. It's just because I'm doing it. There might be people doing it for that. People might just be playing these economic games where they're like speculating on stuff. So we're just trying to make it kind of useful for the individual. And then in the individual acting in their own best self-interest, they're also acting in the benefit of the network. And I think that's the beauty of crypto. Like that's kind of how it all, that's the root of everything.
Love it. I mean, like, are people able to jump in and start using this today? And if so, where?
Yeah, go to intuition.systems. There's a link to our portal right there. We were on base mainnet. Everything was live. We're now migrating to our network. So the actual like intuition protocol will be up like next week again. So right now it's just our testnet network, but things will be up and live and running again, probably by hopefully next week.
Well, I have a million more questions for you, but we have to leave it there, my man. Thanks for jumping on and at least demystifying it a little bit for us. I think Josh and I are a little smarter now, which we like and appreciate. I mean, it just seems like I like the threads back to some of the things that were really exciting to me in some of my earlier days in crypto, and seeing these sort of vending machines that get to run in code and create these whole new economies. So stoked to follow closely as you move into your next phase.
Thank you guys so much for having me. Happy to chat whenever, and enjoy your time with Benji.
Thanks, man. Peace.
See you guys later.